just giving me more reasons to like opening 3. Like, of course, you're gonna have to give it more stuff to it. So yeah, we got version 2 now, technically, of the new freaking arc, the opening, which I gotta say, honestly, what I can honestly say about this opening is that it's probably rushed. That's why, like, we probably had a new part to it. It was like, because a lot of the old opening had like a lot of like reused clips, and that's probably why like I remember seeing like a lot of people had issues with it, because it's like, well, a lot of it is just like old summoning stuff that we've seen from the show, and I'm like, but I still like it. I still think it's my favorite one technically out of the openings, but I really do like the new clips, so we get to see more of like the city. It's a terrible name, but I know, but it's like seeing more of like what's kind of going on with like security. And it seems like it elaborated a lot more about what entirely is actually going on with like sort of the timeline now. This seemingly, they seem to be taking place before, like, I'm guessing before 5D started, but then at the same time, didn't they not have that that road stuff set up yet in like, I believe in the city? Like, I'm pretty sure like people could only have like duels on like official runways or something. I'm pretty much sure, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff, or I'm just guessing that the whole big giant road that connected like the whole part where like you got to see from like Yusei's like sort of city to the others, but not gonna lie, the parts that they added in this opening look pretty goddamn sick, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you get to see like fucking Jack Atlas in there, like Crow, you get to find like the security people. Like, honestly, it's a better addition, like seeing like some of the other characters in it, and it's like seeing Jack Atlas styling colors, which we all knew who it was. I mean, come on, they're showing them off throughout the entire series, so I'm kind of glad that they did it. But I kind of like this more than an interesting setup now that we haven't got any of the characters now, and it's actually turning back onto Yuzu and Yugo, which is like a very interesting like combination. Like, I'm surprised that these two generally held up the like the whole episode for me, because I was actually finding it interesting learning about this whole episode was going like, this is what happened with Yugo whilst like all the stuff Miami tournament and everything else was happening like beforehand. Like, so he had this conflict with like Yuto because he thought it was Yuri. We finally got to see like, you know, a lot of what was happening like during the time, like a lot more about what the city is. Like, we get to see what Rin looks like. Rin looks honestly really cool. I think like Rin out of all of them probably has the coolest design out of them. She definitely looks like a 5D's character. That's like one thing I'll definitely say with the design. She kind of reminds me of that. But then as well, like, Yugo also has that sort of like 5D sort of like biker kind of design to it. But it's like, I kind of like that the whole thing is like, yeah, it's been Yuri behind the scenes throughout like entirely most of this, like in most of the series, where he was the one that took Rin, like he took Yuri, he took like try to take Serena away, like try to take away like Yuzu, like I like that he's this sort of evil douche guy that's been around in the scenes, and he's the reason why Yugo and Yuto had their big clash, because they mistook them, which that's one I can believe. Because fucking Yuri was clouded up and all you saw was the blue shit in his hair. So obviously when you look at Yuto, you can understand the mistakes there. So that makes a lot more sense than like, oh, it's Yuya. Like some shit like that. So it would probably explain like whenever like the powers, which we got to explain, whenever anyone's in contact with one another from the different dimensions, that's when her bracelet starts going off. Hence like why at the start we had Yuya going there to Yuto, and that's kind of why the clash. It's weird. I'm guessing like I'm guessing like Serena and the others have to be near the other guys when it happens. It's not really like explained, but I don't think we're really going to get that much explanation to it. But honestly, it was just interesting because you saw like how much like Yugo genuinely cares for Serena, like to the point where he generally kind of like admits saying like that, you know, he loves her. And like the same thing with Yuzu, which was like you see how much Yuzu genuinely cares for Yuya. And I thought that is something that's kind of needed to be clarified in a while, because regardless of what people say about Zial, and I'm like one of the people here that's I think Zial is the worst one. At least with Zial, it was like it had, I guess, a little development with the romance in a way, but then it just kind of went down at the end. Like, I remember the last episode, like, oh, I love you, Yuya, but then Yuya said nothing. And he's like, oh, let's just walk and fucking run on the rainbow and shit like that. So I hope this is more explained throughout the series, because one thing that's definitely great about Arc V is just the pacing is just really good at the moment. Like, there have been some dragging moments, but I feel that now we're getting into, like, the whole Synchro dimension arc now. This is going to be a lot more of an interesting thing that's going to be happening. So when we saw, like, the whole thing about, oh, the commoners and, like, turn out the top, so, like, they have 99% of the wealth, but only, like, you know, they're only the top 1% can actually live here. So I thought that was an interesting thing to find about them. And seeing security, which was, like, some of my favorite stuff about the original 5Ds. I love the start of 5Ds, and I love the Dark Signers arc. I think that's the best stuff of 5D. So I really would like how we leave the Synchro dimension. I think I want to see Yusei getting out of the detention center. I think that would be a perfect time to see it because we see, you know, Jack Atlas, he's like building people up, he's a Jewel King, he brought up hope for everyone in like the bottom area. Like, I think that's a good way you end this off like you do like GX where you never saw his face or anything. Like, you just see, like, Yusei walking out of the air. But since they show Crow and since they show Jack Atlas, they're probably going to show Yusei's face. And Yusei's probably going to be like a fucking, trying to get this shit on the way, you know? Stuff like that. But this generally did some good stuff in this episode. Like, I think it's fine, honestly, if, like, Arc V just doesn't have to duel once in a while, where we just got a lot of context. That's what we needed. And like I said, I think it'd be good maybe if we have a lot more of these episodes where it gets more story and plot out of the way and a lot of things that need explaining, like finding out about Yugo's like family and everything. It's like, it's kind of honestly sound like you say like they never really had any family, so pretty much like everyone around them became family, like childhood friend kind of stuff. But it was, you know, it was an interesting thing, and I kind of liked that about this episode. So like the episode ended with them getting chased by security, and we're now about to see riding duels. So hey, look forward to like Speedworld. I'm sorry, but when I saw Speedworld, I was like, I fucking hate Speedworld. Speedworld is like, that was the thing that annoyed me about like 5D. It's like, oh look, I've got speed counters here. I can use Monster Reborn out of nowhere. It's just, yeah. Like, that was just one thing. It's like, oh god, I'm kind of interested to see. But it did say Neo Speedwell. So I'm curious about the timeline, guys. So let me know that. I'm pretty sure this takes place probably a couple of months before. Technically, like Yusei, I'm guessing at this point Yusei is like having his first few duels and stuff, and like I don't know, like he's now like getting his way through like security and stuff like that, getting out of the detention center. That's what I want to see. That, yeah, it was cool duel. Looking forward to what the actual duel is taking place, and surprised about the translations was really quick on this one. So yeah, I'm glad, you know, fucking Monosubs have been keeping up the good work, and I really like them for doing that. So good job, guys. But yeah, a long episode, but it's because there's a lot to talk about in this one. So like, honestly, thank you very much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next